Chelsea won. I don't think there's too much to delve into in terms of Chelsea winning the game. They played okay. Palace had chances too. They got the victory. So well done to Chelsea. But I want to talk more about their transfers because they kind of pulled João Felix out their backside a week ago against the odds, really, that weren't expected. And then Saturday afternoon, they pull off probably the most sensational hijack I've ever seen in terms of I've seen the way Arsenal fans have been tweeting about Fabrizio, so even some towards like Ornstein and others, because they all over Friday night and Saturday morning were sort of like Arsenal's third bid. All parties are confident. The player has agreed. It looks like it's going to get done now. I don't know. David's here to join us now as well, which is great. I don't know about you lot. I was kind of sitting there. I'm going to admit this. I did a Fabrizio. I made an Arsenal signed Mudryk video ready to release it in case I was driving when it came out or something. I was that sure based on those journalists. And then Chelsea flew to the training camp in Turkey and just took him home with them. They went there, picked him up, put him on a plane, and they bought him. It was a...
Terry, can I ask you a question? You know, from your understanding, because obviously you know quite a lot of, in the know journalists, was this something that literally blindsided Arsenal, or
no.
were Chelsea always in for him, or did it literally happen as everyone said it did?
Chelsea maybe 2 weeks ago now, I might be a bit off with the dates, told Shakhtar they wanted him. The player at that point was like, I want Arsenal. But they met with Shakhtar before the Man City Chelsea game a week and a half ago on the Tuesday. They met with the Shakhtar president and basically said we will outbid whatever Arsenal were going to pay. That led to Arsenal's second bid being rejected. But then Chelsea just basically were watching it from the side and were it was always, we will swoop in if Arsenal can't get a deal done. But I still think they changed again. That's my view on it. I don't care what the journalists say per se. It was almost, they did what they did with João Felix in the end, where it was like, right, we'll just pay the massive 100 million asking price. And it ended up giving the kid like £100,000 a week and an 8-year contract.
Yeah, that's mad. I've never heard that.
They ended up making him an offer that was above and beyond anything they said before. And I know what they're doing, the 8-year contract so they can spread the cost of the transfer for 8 years to not impact FFP. But it's a huge deal. But I want to get Igal's take on this first, because obviously you came out very famously last week and said that Chelsea were bluffing. There's no way they want him and the player wouldn't go there. And he did. How do you feel about missing out on Mudryk in this way?
You missed out the final statement that I said. We walk away. And we walk away.
But I don't have a chance to walk away.
Okay, but I don't want any political nonsense from you.
No, this is not political, Terry.
Okay, stop. Let me talk. Let me talk. I want to know your personal feelings on not getting Mudryk and him being at Chelsea.
Of course, I'm upset in the fact that we didn't get the target. But at the end of the day, we weren't going to pay and be held to ransom by any club or any player. That's the reality. As a football club, we've made this decision since 2019, since Pepe. We've been running differently, and when we have a bidding war or we have a situation where somebody else comes out and is trying to hold us to ransom or do something like that, we walk away, and that's what we did. We did that with Buendia. We did that with James Maddison. We did that with other players in the past, and we've ended up with Martin Odegaard, which was the better player. So guess what? They got themselves a quality player. I don't know how he's going to fit in the Chelsea system. In the short to immediate term, he could struggle based on the fact that he would have been a better fit at Arsenal. But in the long term, 8 years, he has a long time to be worth the money that they paid for. And let's see how he does at Chelsea. I wish them nothing but the worst.
and I hear that. But you agree completely with Arsenal's not paying the asking price and not paying him that money.
110%. And guys, don't get too emotionally attached to a player. If somebody comes and they try to offer 95 million euros, and then somebody else comes in and takes it last minute, it is what it is. You tried your best. You put a reasonable bid, a reasonable amount of money, and it is what it is. And you know what? I'm not going to get too emotionally attached to transfer signings because guess what? These things happen and it's fair. We've seen it before. We'll see it again.
Gal, I've seen loads of Arsenal fans on Twitter losing their mind because there's what was Edu doing, flying back and forth. What's your thoughts on that? Because you guys were meant to be so close to wrapping it up. Everyone was praising Edu for flying back and forth, being in constant contact and control of the situation. To then get gazumped at the last hurdle, and then they're saying he doesn't know what he's doing. This has happened time and time again. Do you still trust him? Or
this is not on Edu. This is not on Edu for me. Simply put, they put down 95 million euros. You put down 95 million euros, and someone says, "Oh, we have Chelsea's number. As soon as Arsenal put their final bid in, we're gonna go tell Chelsea, and they're gonna match it." They're trying to hold you for ransom. Realistically, Arsenal seen the play. They're like, you know what, Chelsea, if you really want him, take him. And at that moment in time, I fully agree with it. I back them fully on this decision. And I think if we go and get another replacement, it's great. If we now don't go and get another replacement to fill in that squad problem, then it's going to be an issue. But at this moment in time, losing out on that player, it's not an issue.
I agree with you on that part. Like, if we don't get anybody else, then it's a failure. We're not ambitious. But I do find it weird that people were like, all rivals were saying, I cannot believe they're about to spend 90-something million on a player that has 30 appearances and all this kind of stuff. And then once we get gazumped, then it's like, oh, you guys aren't ambitious. You're not a big club. You're not this and that. We're only not ambitious if we don't go and get a second, third choice or whatever, bring them in and they're successful. And that's really what Arsenal have done. They have a good track record of that. I know that's not what rivals want to hear. They don't want to hear that most of the second choices that we've gotten have actually done really well for us because our recruitment is very good. You just want to hear that we're terrible and this and that. If we go through January and we don't bring anybody, it's a failure. If we do get somebody and they work out for us, then it is what it is. But
are you not worried? Because what I've been seeing a lot of the reports is Arsenal briefing already about summer. A lot of the stuff is about what we're going to be doing in the summer. Don't you seem like Arsenal have already passed the opportunity that if we don't get Mudryk, like you guys said, you're only going to go for players that the manager wants. It doesn't seem like there's any other target out there right now that Arteta is so keen on. So when you don't go,
just quickly, they have put a £12 million bid in for Trossard. Was
that not Spurs?
That was Spurs.
We put a 12 million.
Sorry. That was Tottenham. Sorry, my brain messed up then. Sorry, I apologize. Sorry.
I was just going to respond by saying this: when we were linked to Emerson, we didn't know about Tomiyasu. When we were linked to Madison, we knew Odegaard was in the background, but we didn't think he was the main target. When we were linked to other players in the past, like Onana, Ramsdale wasn't even in the picture. When we were linked to all these other targets that we've had in the past, so I'm not surprised. The Arsenal Football Club have their A targets, B targets, and C targets. And realistically, you're not going to go as hard for your secondary or third targets in the January window. You might go and fill a position in another area. I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal went big on a midfielder in the January and tried to get Declan Rice instead of going for another winger.
I've already said that's the summer window.
But yeah, the Declan Rice one's interesting to me. I think if Declan Rice was available now, you'd do it. But it's all about the. I mean, they're talking £70 million for him now. It's a lot cheaper than everybody expected. But yeah, Gary Jacobs has said that Arsenal will have made Declan Rice their top summer target and are growing in confidence that they can beat Chelsea to his signature. Arsenal believe that their status as a Premier League leader puts them in a strong position. And just mad. Some Chelsea fans will be happy about that because there are a lot of Chelsea fans who don't want Declan Rice. I know there's some gooners. I know, Jess, I know you're not particularly sold on Declan Rice as a player. Well, I'm at the other end of the spectrum. There's talk that Man United might be selling McTominay this month. I don't think we've got a chance of getting Declan Rice right now, but give me that young man in my midfield next to Casemiro. And I think Declan Rice is so goddamn good. He just needs to move into a team with a better coach and be surrounded by better players. And I think there's a sensational player in Declan Rice. You know, we only see him play for David Moyes and Southgate, and look how good he is for them. Imagine him with a progressive coach who develops players. Yeah, if Arsenal get him, a midfield three, and you aren't using midfield three per se, but your main four midfielders being Declan Rice, Partey, Xhaka, and Odegaard, that is scary.
Yeah,
that is scary.
I mean, it could be. I have two thoughts on this. It could be like briefing, the media so that, there could be a distraction and, and maybe they won't bring in anybody and they're looking towards the summer. Arsenal are very set on their long-term project, whether you like it or not. Or it could be, Declan Rice's people briefing to get other people interested. You don't really know. But in terms of the winger, that has to come in regardless of if we're going to get Declan Rice or not. So this news, it doesn't really matter. We need an attacker,
Yeah, I get that. David, from your point of view, when you saw that news on Saturday night, and I laugh, I'll be honest with you, I'm not laughing at Arsenal. I mean, I love transfers as an isolated. I look at transfers as like the Vatican. They're not part of like Rome. They're not part of Italy. Like it's its own little world. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. And I buzz off those things. Even when my team gets hijacked sometimes, I still get a weird little buzz. I'm like, oh, this is bad. But what do you make of it as a Chelsea fan that you've just dropped 100 million on an 8.5-year contract for Mudryk?
I'm not too impressed, to be honest. One, I haven't done any scouting on this player at all, so I've got no idea what he's like. I watched one game against Celtic, and as I said yesterday, if you don't perform against Celtic, I'd be incredibly worried because Celtic are League One. But 100 million to me doesn't make sense right now because my squad has like 8 holes in it. I need a left back. I need a midfielder. I need a backup right back. I need potentially another centre back. I need an actual first choice goalkeeper. There are so many holes in my squad where it's like, fill these in before you start dropping 100 million pounds on one person. And especially when the person you signed didn't really want to come anyway. Like he was basically saying, I'm going to Arsenal. And we just threw loads of money at him. And then he was like, well, money's great, isn't it? And he just came to Chelsea. I mean, that's what we did with Willian, and Willian didn't turn out too bad. So
it's what we did with Alexis Sanchez.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not a fan of. I have so far I have not co-signed one big Bowley signing yet. The only transfers I like from Bowley are the young ones who are like 10, 20 mil. They're the only ones that I see making sense. The big ones.
It's crazy. It's crazy because like there's some reports today saying that Raheem Sterling could go this January.
Oh wow!
It shows you that they bought players to Tuchel, and then were like, "Shit, he ain't our manager anymore." And Graham Potter's saying, "Well, these guys just don't play my style of football, and they're going to need somebody else." So yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I mean, I mean, Koulibaly and Cucurella, both of them, you just do not like. Somehow Cucurella is not a Graham Potter player, which I find very confusing. Koulibaly, Todd Bowley went in the summer, he went on Football Manager, looked up 5-star centre-backs and said sort by value and found the cheapest one. And we ended up with Koulibaly, even though the scout report said can't pass, can't defend, can't dribble, can't do anything.
Bro, now you're saying this. When I got onto you in the summer, you was
no. But again,
do you remember we had a big argument about Koulibaly, and you told me he's a world-class centre back.
My bad.
Him and Roy together.
In the words of filthy fellas, my bad. It's my bad.
Yeah,
I've got my hands up.
enough,
However, you also back Lloris, and he's costing you games. You also need to say you need to say my bad as well. You need to say my bad as well. But yeah, like Badiashile yesterday when he played, that looks more like a signing that's lining up with what Potter needs because he was a lot better on the ball. Levi Colwill at Brighton right now as a left centre back is another option who looks very good and really performed well against Liverpool. So,
David, I've missed you, man. How you been? How's the rebuild?
I watched your show the other day where you were like, "I miss David," and I was like, "I was there watching." Yeah, I was wrong.
I seen you in the comments, David. I'm just gonna say this, man. You said our rebuild and your rebuild. I'll tell you something.
I was wrong.
I'll tell you something. Your rebuild is the same as ours.
I was wrong.
At the beginning, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were just signing a bunch of nobodies. At one point, we signed Granit Xhaka and Lucas Perez in the same window. What the hell was Lucas Perez ever going to do for us? We never had any idea.
Mate, at the same time, I didn't think Bowley was going to sack the Champions League winning manager.
That are going to last the time over a couple of years, but there's going to be a lot of these players in short term. You're going to say, you know what? Why'd we get Henrik Mkhitaryan? Why'd we get Socrates? Why'd we get Kolasinac for free? You're going to look at these players. You're going to say a couple of years down the line, what are these guys doing in our squad? And then when you have a 15-man squad of players where you look at like 7 of them and you're like, they need to all go, but they're on long contracts. That's when you're going to be like, we messed up.
Yeah, that's the only way this deal goes wrong is if he's absolute dog poo. But then this is the thing with hindsight in the future. Again, everyone's laughing at Chelsea's rebuild. If this time next year they're flying high and looking amazing, this exact conversation will look crazy. If Mudryk goes on to be the best winger in the country for years, Arsenal not getting him will look potentially look stupid. It depends who you get instead. Man United missed out on Ronaldinho when no one really knew who he was.
It doesn't matter.
And one second. And a year later, we signed Cristiano Ronaldo. Some people would say they'd have preferred Ronaldinho. But that's the only way Arsenal come out of this looking good, is if who they get instead works. That's it. It's as simple as that. It's okay missing out on players, but your next option's got to work, as far as I'm concerned. This comment here from Reggie says, if we would have paid the 100K, it would have completely blown out of the water negotiations with Saka, Martinelli, and Saliba. Maybe, I mean, yeah, but those guys are good. I mean, Saka's got to be going on near 200 grand a week. He's got to be
250. I was hearing
250. He's got to go up to that big money now. So that wouldn't have made much of it. I mean, I think that all of them are going to go up much higher than 100K. But I hear you. Hammy here says bid apparently being readied for Vlahovic. Plus, I think we've dodged the bullet with Mudryk. Everyone forgot the documentary. We know what we are working, why we're working hard. What I will say about the Mudryk transfer is that Shakhtar Donetsk are donating a quarter of it, so 25 million pounds of it is going to support people in Ukraine that have been damaged by the war. So that was one of their reasons for wanting to push the price so high, because they're giving that money towards like victims of that, which is nice. Like obviously a nice gesture from them to do that. But there we go. Thank you for this super sticker. You didn't say anything, but thank you very much. Sorry, go on, mate. Go on.
I was gonna say, based off what you just said, another thing is if Arsenal still go on to win the Premier League, who really has the last laugh? He's going to be giving us a guard of honor potentially at our ground.
Well, yeah, last laugh this season, but as we know, football is
it's
a bit like, I don't know.
3 in a row. And then,
Man United got laughed at in the summer for signing Casemiro. Right now, everyone who laughed at that looks stupid. But equally, in 18 months, if he's dead and buried, can't run anymore, and we're back to 8th, then it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? I think it's all up and down in that way. But yeah, there are talks of Vlahovic or Usherman to. Someone said that someone's super chatted. I've lost it. I can't find it now. That David Ornstein said Osherman or Vlahovic could be on their way to someone.
Either of them.
They didn't say what club though. I'm assuming they mean Chelsea. I mean,
Smeehan's on his way to winning the league. I don't think he's going anywhere at the moment.
If it is for Chelsea, I don't want either of them. I don't want forwards from Serie A.
This here says Bowley moving like I don't know who that is.
Suge Knight.
Death row contracts. That's what.
Yeah, Death row records.
Yeah, not my thing, bro.